Hello, and welcome to the Center for Community Growth, Center Webcast. My name is Gerald Smith. This is episode 7. Today is Thursday. I'm going to start again. Make sure we get our recording going. Hello, my name is Gerald Smith, and welcome to Center for Community Growth Center Webcast. This is episode 7 of the COVID-19 in Indiana County update. Today is Thursday, April 9th, and today I'm joined as usual by Dr. Sybil Moore. As well, we are joined today by Kathy Monko, the Director of School and Community Services at ARIN, that's Armstrong, Indiana Intermediate Unit, which helps with school districts across Indiana and Armstrong counties. And I'm also rejoined again by Sherene Hess, Indiana County Commissioner. Thanks to Quintina Thomas today for engineering help. And as you can tell, we're missing Brandon, and it's really tough for us to get by engineering. Let's get started though. I'm going to start with Sherene Hess, our County Commissioner. Sherene, are you there? Oh, I got to unmute you. I think you're muted. Hold on, Sherene.
There we go. I'm unmuted.
There you go, Sherene. Welcome. It's so nice to see you.
You saw my mouth moving, but no words. So anyway, thanks for inviting me back. I hope everyone's doing all right. It's been a tough and challenging few weeks here for Indiana County and the rest of the state and the nation, but I'm happy to report that we're doing it. We're all pulling together and trying to move forward. A little update from the Pennsylvania Department of Health. We were up 1,989 positive diagnoses to a total of 18,228 total positive cases. Unfortunately, total deaths from COVID-19 are now up to 338, and that was an increase of 28 in the past 24 hours. Indiana County remains at 21 positive cases, and we know of no deaths at this time. I would like to say that we're all flying the Pennsylvania state flag at half-mast in memory of our fallen, the folks who have passed away from COVID-19. So I want to thank everyone for what they're doing. If you're on the front lines, thank you so much for your contribution to this. If you're one of the essential workers out there, you work in a grocery store, you deliver food, or you grow food, or you just do any number of other things that help people live their lives, we appreciate it so much. And if you are staying at home for this cause, thank you. That's incredibly important as we work to slow the spread of the virus. I'd like to say that we're making some progress on that.
Yeah, maybe ask, how do you think Indiana, I know you are part of weekly and probably daily emergency management meetings. How do you think, how does that table feel like Indiana County is doing in terms of flattening the curve and adhering to these social distancing practices?
I see a lot of people doing what we're supposed to be doing. I see a lot of people who are not. And I can go to our parks and I can see people congregating way too much. And so I do want to remind people that it is important. And, we're part of this thing. So, I want to urge people to just do your part. So yeah, you're going to have it. People are going to take it lightly. They're not going to take it seriously, but we do want to encourage people are doing it. And the more we all do it, the more people see it. So I say be a leader.
I appreciate that. We at the show last week, we all wore our masks. I have my chili pepper bandana that I like to wear when I go out. I guess I know the county has taken some steps to actually at least rope off some of the playground equipment at the county parks. I also see folks at the basketball courts, at the pickleball courts, and is it your thought that we should be doing similar things in terms of putting up some kind of a barrier, not an insurmountable physical barrier, but at least like some caution tape that ropes off these areas to suggest that it's really not a time to be on this communal playground equipment?
Yeah, I think that it would be a good idea. Every municipality is in charge of their own recreational facilities. So at the county parks, we did what we could do. We closed Buttermilk Falls, which it was just necessary to do. And even on the trails, it's look, this is a lifeline for people right now, is to get outside and be on the trails and be in nature. So we're for it. And these, our Department of Conservation and Natural Resources has some really good tips on how to maintain social distancing and really adhere to the guidance that's out there. So, we just want people to be safe. That's really what we want.
Sure. In particular, the guidance these days has been about masks. And we'll talk about that in a little bit of a later segment. Is it your sense that emergency personnel in Indiana County have enough personal protective equipment? Or should we be supporting a lot of these grassroots efforts to make masks, in particular for healthcare workers? Or should some of these efforts be going to make masks for everyday people?
Well, I think that, there's a lot of mask makers out there, and God bless them. They're working, and it is important. Those N95 masks are so critical for our first responders, for the folks who are working in the healthcare facilities. So, we try to, if you don't need that kind of a mask, we are encouraging people not to use those masks. If you're just outside, a cloth mask is okay. It's CDC guidance. It's you can fashion something from a bandana like you did. There's lots of good little tidbits on Facebook on how to, and online how to make your own mask. It's easy. It does give you a feeling too, like you're doing something, and it does work. I mean, it's meant to protect. Your mask protects somebody else, and their mask protects you. So it's one of those things that certainly can't hurt, and it is helping.
Great. We're going to come back to that a little bit towards the end. Let me ask you one other thing until we get to the next our next guest. I read on one of your feeds about some information about priorities for a next stimulus bill for what should be in, and I'm wondering if your office has some thoughts about what are priorities for our sort of the next round. We heard from Senator Casey on one of our first broadcasts that this $2 trillion stimulus bill will be the first of at least one or two more to come. So it makes sense now that we're thinking about that next one. Do you have thoughts about what needs to be prioritized, and what should listeners do to help our leaders prioritize those?
Yeah. So there's been 3 bills passed at the federal level. And this recent one, the $2.2 trillion bill that most people are familiar with, rolls out a lot of money for individuals, for small businesses, for any number of parts of the system. There is talk about another one, a fourth one, in the amount of maybe another $250 billion. Although there has been some push from the House Democrats at the congressional level to add some more. And what they're proposing is actually $100 billion for hospitals and health systems for rapid testing and personal protective equipment, $150 billion for state and local governments, which to you and to me as local elected officials is music to our ears, and a 15% increase in the maximum food stamp benefit for families. Also talking about an extra $250 billion or $125 billion to be targeted specifically to farmers, to women, minority, family, veteran-owned businesses and nonprofits, and calling for improvements to ensure that small businesses don't get rejected by the big banks. That's what we're seeing and have seen is the 4 major banks have been rejecting those, sole proprietorships and the folks who they work for themselves, independent contractors. So that's what's proposed by the House now. The administration has said no, they don't want to go along with that kind of disaster relief. So what we're hoping that people will call their congressman or woman and say, look, we really need this, we really want it, and in the end we just hope they'll do the right thing. But in the past 3 weeks, almost 17 million people have filed for unemployment. This is really pointing out the flaws and the inequities that occurred in our government well before COVID-19, but now are really, really, it's really shining a light on how fragile things are. So we hope this fourth bill will pass, and hopefully it will be looking again at a bottom-up approach for the the worker in America, instead of the top-down approach.
Great. Is there anything else that you want to let us know this week? You come on about every week and totally appreciate it. What are your other priorities looking at this week in terms of COVID-19 and prevention?
Well, yeah, I mentioned unemployment compensation. And if you're one of the unfortunate folks and there are a lot of them out there, I mean, there's almost 1 million in Pennsylvania alone, do apply for unemployment. And there is a good website, and it's a link to it on indianacountypa.gov, and it's WGAL's out of Harrisburg. It's a real nice layout of what you can expect when you apply for unemployment. And one of the best things you can do is go to uchelp@pa.gov. And if you have a specific situation, instead of, the waits are going to be long, and I know it's hard to ask people to be patient, but we're trying to release those bottlenecks, but it is a system that's got some flaws to it, but we are working hard to unlock some of those flaws. So uchelp@pa.gov, and just be persistent.
Okay, we'll definitely get that out. Well, thank you for joining us once again, and hopefully you'll come back and let us know how else things are going on in the county here.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Sybil, let's go right over to you.
All right. Hello and welcome back to Center Radio. This is the COVID-19 edition of Center Radio, our webcast. This is number 7. We are talking today to Kathy Monko. She's representing ARIN Intermediate. Hello, Kathy. How are you today?
Good, Sybil. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I know that this is really crazy. I know today that the governor just kind of changed everything. So I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you taking out some time to talk to everybody. For those of you that, or for people out there that don't know about ARIN, I know they pass the building, they see the apple with the red letters, but they don't know what ARIN does. Can you tell us a little bit about what ARIN does as an organization, please?
Sure. ARIN is a regional educational facility, and our overall goals are to help support districts, children, and family with specifically within Armstrong and Indiana County, although we do have some programs that serve 11 counties across the Commonwealth. So, really to help schools manage some of those initiatives that come out of the state and federal government and help support kids and family as we go through this journey together.
And I know that your position there is to provide resources to some of the most vulnerable students in Indiana, Armstrong County. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do there and what your specific department does, and how is your department dealing with the COVID-19 since the closing on March 13th?
So I oversee early childhood school and community services. We have a variety of grant-funded programs. We serve children and families when mom is pregnant through, we serve families that are students who are hoping to get their equivalency. So we really do serve families across the board. Most of my programs are grant funded, although some of them are a fee for service. And really, our organization, we did a lot of things that were home visitation and meeting families one-on-one. And now that we have been sort of ordered to stay in place by the governor, we cannot do those home visits anymore. So we had to really rethink how we're meeting with kids and families. We serve teen parents. How do we keep them motivated to continue to do what they need to do to be successful in school? So we really had to rethink, home visitation and how we're providing services.
Have you run into any challenges since March 13th, as far as like other than the services you provide in home? I know that our superintendent was on. I talked with him last week, and he said, it's like a brand new game for the district because the district has never been virtual before. What problems are you running into specifically at ARIN?
Well, and I think we're running into some of those same issues. Most of our programs, it's supposed to be a one-on-one, and you visit with families and help them work with their children. And now it's doing that kind of thing via Zoom. However, some of our families, as you know, are very rural, and that connectivity isn't how we would want it to be. So, some of our families can't connect, or if they can connect, sometimes they're not really aware of how to use Zoom or some of those other technological programs. So, it's really helping them understand what that looks like. Sometimes we just have to call and help them work through things. A lot of our families transportation was difficult to begin with. And so we'd have to help transport. Well, now we can't even do that. So to help them get some of those basic services that they need has become a challenge across the board.
Okay. And what do you anticipate future challenges may be now that the school is totally closed? Like, I know into the school year, I know that there are certain programs that you have that continue with the school year and then they close off. Then there's one that's run into the summer. What do you anticipate is going to happen then?
That's a great question. We're still trying to work through some of that. We have like our occupational and physical therapy program. Right. And our school psychologists right now, we're having them meet with kids and families as much as we possibly can, do check-ins. We've sent packets out to kids and families to help them work with their children, doing some occupational and therapy techniques that we feel like that they can do to help support their children. But we are, much like the district, sort of walking with this as we go and trying to build the plane as we fly it. We're really not quite sure what it's all going to look like. And so we're just trying to do the best that we can and help support parents and kids in the best way that we can.
And finally, there are some parents who may not know about your services or what to do at this point. Can you tell us some services that they might be able to find there and how they can reach out to you or anyone at ARIN in order to get or receive services? Sure.
You can always go to the ARIN webpage, which is iu28.org, and under programs, it'll list all of our programs, and it talks about, whether it is for kids, whether it's for parents. We tried to make categories so that people could look and find some of our services that are provided. Families are always welcome to shoot me an email. My email is kmonko@iu28.org, or you can call me at the IU. Though the IU office is closed, I can still get my messages here at the house. So my telephone number is 724-463-5300, and I'm at extension 1219. And Sybil, just a shout out to one of our programs, our Family Focus program. For those families that are out there that are struggling to find some things to do with their children, on our Facebook page, on our Family Focus of Indiana County Facebook page, there's a lot of different activities that are on there. We have some staff that are reading books with their children. So it's really kind of nice to see somebody else doing that for you. And like, we have one mom with both of her children there, and it's nice to see how she's managing 2 kids, because sometimes that can be a difficulty for families. So please feel free to visit that page and use any of the items that are there, and you can contact us through that as well. Really, in any way that we can help support a family, please give us a call and we'll try and help support you.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we before we log off?
I would just like to thank all of those other services that help our families. We really do try, whether it's with our teen parents or whether it's with our families, we do rely on community action and on the homeless shelters and, our school districts. So I just want to thank them for all the support that they provide to us and the support that they provide to our families.
And we'd like to thank you for all your hard work and dedication to our families as well. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Sybil. You have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Center Radio. My name is Gerald Smith, and this is episode 7 of Center Radio. It's called Center Webcast now. This segment, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about masks. In my own personal Facebook world, my last post thinking about masks was had generated some of the most content that I have had in any of my posts in a long time. And so this shows a little bit about Facebook, or was launched from Facebook. I wanted to share a few things that I think are important to take a look at in terms of masks. First of all, Quintina, if you're able to share that first document that has some pretty good information about what the different types of masks can do for us. Quintina, are you there? Are you able to find that? Let's see. There we go. Not sure if we see that yet. There it is. So this is a website that has been around and has some pretty good specific advice on the different types of masks. If you can keep it on that one. The do-it-yourself mask is the one that a lot of folks in their homes are thinking about. They're the ones that we featured with Judy Holliday a couple episodes ago. They're the ones that there are a variety of reports on whether or not they are super effective. These are also the types of masks that are recommended by our Pennsylvania Department of Health to wear. And as you can see there, it sort of tells you what those do. Protection of wearer and strangers. Generally unproven exhalation and droplet ejection can be reduced. And here's what's key, I think, is awareness of social distancing can be increased. A lot of folks on social media have reflected around here in Indiana County how stores like Lowe's and Giant Eagle and other essential businesses have been very busy these days. And while there seem to be some social distancing practices, not a whole lot of personal masks, and in fact, an outright rejection of wearing masks. So I think the overall advice that we've been hearing is that while the actual results of wearing these masks may be unproven, these homemade masks do offer an increased level of protection, and at the very least, increase our awareness that social distancing needs to be happening. Quintina, if you can scroll down, the rest of these are generally masks that are used in the medical profession, and these days, since so many folks in the medical field are lacking masks, then if you have one or many of those, you should probably take them to your nearest hospital. I know we did. Our family had bought a couple of N95 masks before, maybe I guess a month ago, and realized we didn't need one of those, and so donated those to the hospital. So Quintina, if you can scroll down, there are better masks that are out there that are helpful to use. But again, because we have a lot of first responders who don't have these right now, it's probably a good idea to stick with the homemade ones. And Quintina, if you can now pull up the Pennsylvania Department of Health link there that goes right to these homemade masks. Thanks. So this is the recommendation of the Department of Health of Pennsylvania. It says members of the public are encouraged to wear homemade cloth or fabric masks, save surgical and N95 respirators for healthcare workers. Here's the saying, my mask protects you, your mask protects me. There's a lot of debate about how perfectly effective these are and whether or not all the studies are agreeing that these are as good as surgical masks. The fact is they're not. The fact is, if you have the same mask on and you're still touching your face and picking it up and putting it down, you are not using it as effectively as you could. Nonetheless, our Department of Health is making this recommendation, and so I would encourage folks to take a look for these. If you can make your own, if not, my challenge to our community here is to make sure we have these masks available for anyone. If masks are handed to you as you walk into Lowe's or Giant Eagle, you are much more likely to wear them. My challenge is for local businesses, particularly the larger chains like Walmart, Giant Eagle, Lowe's, to put in some resources to make 50,000 masks for Indiana County. Our population is about 84,000 in Indiana County. Let's make 50,000 masks and hand them out as folks walk into shopping centers. It's our challenge. Masks cost about $5 or $6 on cost to make. So that's our challenge here for Indiana County. And I'm hoping the center can work on that, and we can work on making masks available to everybody as we go through this next period of social distancing. All right, here's our last segment. Welcome back to Center Webcast, episode 7. Sybil, I think you're there in the screen, because I'm not sure how to operate the Zoom as well as usual. What's on your mind for our next episode? What do you think is on the minds of folks that they need to hear about?
Well, I think there's a lot. We are trying to find anyone in the state government right now. There's a lot going on at the state level. Unfortunately, the programs that were passed at the federal level have all been put on the states. And we are finding, what I'm hearing from some of the state officials, is that not only are they now tasked with finding there enough PPE equipment for their state, ventilators and things like that, Pennsylvania being ranked number 7 as far as the number of corona cases. They're now also tasked with now we're tasked with trying to get the stimulus money out to where it needs to go. So we would like to have someone on to talk about how we can get through some of the red tape and the jam system with the unemployment benefits. I've had many friends who have tried to go online, and as Commissioner Hess was saying, it's a work in progress, and some people are now getting frustrated with that. Also, I think we want to talk to Chamber of Commerce. Also very important as well, I think, is the farmers, who's people that are growing food right now, trying to figure out what that looks like now with COVID-19. And more importantly, what we're hearing now, since the numbers have come in and people have been looking at the numbers, there has been a disparity, and the disparity was there, of course, before COVID-19 appeared on the scene, with Latino and African Americans with the effects of COVID. That it's hitting them much harder. That the average African American, I heard on the radio this morning from the CDC, and also in the state of Pennsylvania, African Americans are twice as likely to get it as their Caucasian counterparts, and Hispanics a little bit higher than that, even at 25%. So there again, the disparities exist and persist, and we want to have someone come on and talk a little bit about what that looks like, and why those disparities occur, and why we see them now, even during COVID-19. So We're going to try to get some more school officials back on next week now that school is closed down, to kind of see what that plan looks like for closing out the school year and expectations of families and our kiddos.
Great. So, and I think we could probably re-invite some of those guests that we had over our first week, including Senator Casey, folks at the State House, Senator Pittman, Representative Struzzi, to really give us to drill down what's our next step, how are these things coming through?
Right. Yeah, I think it'd be important to have our legislators back on to talk to us now that we've been in this now for about 2 to 3 weeks. It'd be nice for them to come back on and kind of talk us through the next couple of months, at least the next month or so, see what happens.
Great. Well, we'll be back live again Sunday at 2. We'll be back live again Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. So we're Sunday at 2, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. If you've got questions, you can post them there on Facebook. We'll be on YouTube as well. Please share them around. Thank you very much. And thank you again to our guest, Commissioner Sherene Hess. Thank you to Kathy Monko. Thank you to Quintina Thomas for being our engineer, and Sybil Moore for our co-host. And Brandon, we need you. I'm going to try with a jingle. Bye-bye.